Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast. Really excited about this episode to preview the Chargers' upcoming matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. Joining me to do that are my guys Tyler and Alex. We got big Trey Pipkins fan and Dan Oronsky. We'll start with Dan, aka Tyler. Tyler, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. It's been raining all day, so I've just kind of stayed inside and played with my wiener dog. Sorry, I'm four.
Starting off strong tonight.
This is how you know it's a Tuesday show. We're not prepared. We normally go on Thursday.
Yeah, a little bit different this week. A little bit different. Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I am back to the usual 2 a.m. on Thursday delirium that we enjoyed during the Steelers games. So I guess we're going to be enjoying that this week, hopefully after Chargers win, because I might have to, pop an Advil PM if we lose this game. So hopefully they don't.
Yeah, you're popping Advil PMs. I'm popping cough drops. I have bronchitis, so I cannot stop.
And Tyler's
coughing.
playing with his wiener.
I'm popping something else right now, apparently. Oh, we're on fire. Let's do it.
Oh my goodness. Wow, good stuff today. So, like last week, we unfortunately have to start talking about the COVID situation surrounding the Chargers because this is obviously the biggest storyline of the week. So, for those who, what is GANG? What is GANG? GANJ?
That's a term for weed, Stephen.
Oh yeah, I have never smoked weed in my entire life. Never had a sip of alcohol, so that is wrong. All right, so unfortunately, you have to start talking about COVID with the Chargers today. Scott Questenberry still on the list. Keenan Allen has been activated, which is good. But obviously, the big one is Slater and Chris Jones, both of which are on the COVID list for the Chargers and the Chiefs. So, Alex, we'll start with you. Initial thoughts here with those two players on the COVID list today.
Well, I mean, it was fun to go into Monday, and I was feeling Monday like, oh, you know what? I might be the optimistic one. I might pick the Chargers over the Chiefs, Like, I don't know. At that time, it felt like it was going to be maybe a 50-55% chance of a Chargers win, and then they put Slater on the COVID list. And then I was thinking, well, they could, play around with other line configurations. Maybe they put Filer somewhere, put Norton on the other side. And then they were like, no, we're putting Trey Pipkins there. And I'm like, all right, good talk, everyone. So, yeah. Can the Chargers still win this game with Trey Pipkins? Yes, because they have a top 5 quarterback and his name is Justin Herbert. I mean, like that's the reality of the situation. He will win you games that you're not supposed to win. That being said, I do not feel too confident in this team with Trey Pipkins blocking. At the same time, I do think Chris Jones is a big loss for the Chiefs, particularly how he can affect the interior. And, I mean, they may be in a better position now to have someone like Matt Filer help out Trey Pipkins or have Corey Linsley kind of facilitate the line a little better because they're not going to be playing against Chris Jones. So, I do think it is worse for the Chargers than it is for the Chiefs, just because Slater, I mean, A, plays the more important position, and B, has kind of been the person holding this whole line together, considering what's happened with the other parts of it. So I wouldn't feel as bad if they still had Ibushi and if they still had Bulaga and sort of the optimal line that we went into. But the fact that they already kind of have really 2 spots on the line that are liabilities, and now they're adding a third for at least this game, that is the concerning thing. And it goes back to what we talked about in the preseason with the fact that they didn't really have a lot of depth on that offensive line. And now you're playing Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins in a game for the division. So that's great.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. They can still theoretically win this game, but it's not great.
Yeah, like you, even just Sunday night, we're thinking, okay, things look pretty good. Big win. They could win on Thursday. I still think they can win on Thursday, depending on how some things shake out. But at that time, you know, Slater, or we wake up on Monday and Slater goes to the reserve COVID list. And then we didn't know about Allen quite yet. We still don't know really about James quite yet. And, you know, Eckler, we think is fine, but, you know, you really don't know. And for him to be out in the second half or so of the first of the Giants game, it's still concerning. But I think things are trending more positive. As Staley likes to say, and hopefully not referring to COVID, you know, losing Slater, I mean, at least if you lose Lindsley, you have Questenberry. Going from Slater to Pipkins feels like a worst case scenario. And I know people are trying to, you know, they say, you know, be optimistic about Pipkins, but I don't really know how you can at this point. I'd love for him to do well. Totally. Like if they win and Trey Pipkins is awesome, great. I just don't have faith in a guy who gave up 9 pressures and 3 sacks in the preseason to guys I couldn't name who may not be on the team anymore for the respective teams that he faced. So, you know, it's rough, but them losing Jones is a big deal. I actually honestly think them losing Jones is a bigger deal than the Chargers losing Slater. I just think they don't have a ton. Like, I feel like they can sort of manage a game plan ish with the offensive line that they have. It's going to be like the Eagles game, but I think they can sort of make that work. Whereas Jones wrecks the game for the Chiefs. And I really think that defense is generally just kind of overrated, and that team just give the Chiefs an opportunity to score more. They'll throw dumb passes. I mean, watching, you know, Bridgewater try to play against the Chiefs was awful. He was terrible that game, just giving the Chiefs opportunities or missing passes. So not having a guy who's, you know, been amazing since Ingram joined the team, not having him is a big deal for the Chiefs. And so I think it's a nice little balance. Like when we first lost Slater and they only lost Josh Gordon, it's like, that's not even kind of the same thing. But then being out, you know, potentially one of their corners as well, and Jones, and then we lose Slater, it's manageable. I guess it's the NFL and it's the season that they're in, the pandemic that they're in the last 2 seasons. Just got to deal with it.
Yeah, you just have to deal with it, and that's the unfortunate reality. And for those saying in the chat, yes, Rashawn Slater is vaccinated. There is still a chance that he can play. Same goes for Chris Jones, I believe, but just based off of the timing of this game, you know, it seems very unlikely that we see both of or either of these players frequently play in this game. If this were a Sunday game, or as Alex kind of suggested on Twitter, moving this game to Monday night and doing a double Monday night, a double header on Monday night, then yeah, you probably see them play. But because this is a Thursday night game, I'd be pretty shocked, to be honest, if either of these players played in this one. To Tyler's point, Chris Jones does lead the league in pressures since they traded for Melvin Ingram. Of course, we kind of, gosh.
Well, I was just going to say, while Steven's coughing, if Chris Jones or Rashawn Slater do play and COVID exits their body within a period of 48 hours, I think that we need to build the statue for Rashawn Slater's immune system next to our already existing statue of Andre Roberts.
Yes, absolutely. As I was saying before, I couldn't stop coughing. Chris Jones leads the league in pressures since they traded for Melvin Ingram. So they have moved him back inside, and he's been a game wrecker. And, you know, Melvin Ingram has just given them so many more options. So I don't know if I would say he's a bigger loss than Rashawn Slater. The drop-off for Rashawn Slater to Trey Pipkins is definitely more significant than going from Chris Jones to Jaron Reed or whoever they have on the defensive tackle position for sure. But it just sucks, right? Like, because you want to see these two teams playing for the AFC West, playing for this huge matchup, and being able to play at their best. And unfortunately, we will not be able to see that. I promise I'm not getting emotional. I'm just trying not to cough. If it does sound like I'm getting emotional, of course.
Trey Pipkins isn't that bad, man.
Granted, Rashawn Slater is just that good. So, you know, it is kind of an emotional thing to not have Rashawn Slater in this game. So it's just going to be interesting to see how these teams kind of combat that reality of this situation.
And I'm hoping that nothing happens in between now and then. We still have another day for something to happen. I guess something can happen on Thursday too. I think the Rams on Sunday got the news that they had 3 or 4 players out on the COVID list or whatever it was. So hoping this is it. Hoping the team can just prepare as is and that nothing else happens. Crossing my fingers because, I mean, we are one more player lost, like another lineman. If Matt Fowler's out, and it's Pipkins, Calamete, Lindsley, Schofield, Norton. Like, give Lindsley a raise.
And it is a good sign that the Chargers did not have any additional players added to the COVID list today. As reality check points out, the Rams have 9 players on the COVID list. The Browns have 8. So COVID is really surging through the NFL, unfortunately, at this time. And it's just going to be something that every team has to deal with. Drop me. I'm just a mess today. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Steven. So is the offensive line. When the offensive line goes, you go.
Yeah, very true.
I think you've been sick since Calamete. If I'm not
I
mistaken.
have.
The timeline is perfect.
It's just a mess, man.
Is Calamete one of the new COVID variants?
It sounds like a Greek letter. Sure. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, Calamete. Yeah, sure.
Oh my goodness. As much as people commenting in the chat, they'd rather have me out there. I'm not blocking Melvin Ingram, you guys. I had 2 knee surgeries when I was a freshman in college, and that kind of sapped me. So I'm done playing football. So let's get to some of the other bigger storylines that we're paying attention to in this one. Tyler, why don't you start us off talking about the big storyline that you are paying attention to this week?
I mean, all eyes on Justin Herbert this week. Last week he becomes the first player in NFL history to have 30 touchdowns in each of his first 2 seasons. Now this week he has a chance to break the record for most passing yards by a player in their first 2 seasons if he can throw for 314, which is possible, and he'd pass Andrew Luck there. He has a chance to sweep the Chiefs, which they have not done since 2013, and they only did that because the Chiefs sat their starters, and it still took an overtime win for them to beat Niles Davis and Chase Daniel. So if they win this game, they're likely winning the division, which they've never done in the Telesco era. And if you win, you really signal that there's potentially a new king of the AFC West. And you make it really clear that this team is ready to go all in next year. Like, you would remove all doubt if you sweep the Chiefs. You go in for sure next year. Not that they weren't anyway, but it's a clear as day signal that your quarterback is ready and you need to go all in next year. Herbert's throwing deep now. His yards per attempt is higher than it was last year. His EPA per play through week 14 at this point is 72% higher than it was last year. For reference, for example, Matthew Stafford went from the Lions to the Rams and McVay, and his EPA per play increased 34%. So Herbert's jumping 72% is incredible. He's on a great pace right now. So if he has a great day and pulls out a win, he will be top 3, in my opinion, for MVP voting, if he's not already. But if he wins, he will have secured that spot and potentially maybe even top 2. And I'm sure for some people a favorite as well, particularly if Slater is out or if Eckler is limited. So it's the biggest game of his entire life up until this point, I think. And he has an opportunity to shine, break some records, and really carry this team into a whole new era.
Yeah, this is the most important Chargers game in, I don't know, over 5 years. We could talk about the last Chargers-Chiefs game, but this one's a big one potentially for the division. You can kind of hold on and beat the Texans. The Chiefs have a little bit of a harder schedule going forward, where they, I think, have still to play the Bengals. This is the biggest Chargers-Chiefs game, really. Even I would go past 2018. I think there have probably been more important ones, but this is big. And so for me, the storyline to watch is Patrick Mahomes. He's 19-3 in the divisional games in his career. The Chargers are responsible, of course, for 2 of those losses. The Raiders are responsible for the other one. And so I don't think he is going to be too pleased. I don't think he was too pleased when they matched up before and everyone had the whole Herbert thing going. And that reporter was like, hey, do you see it when you believe it now? So I think he's kind of going to come out pissed off because, he wants to prove the AFC West is still his. And it belongs to the Chiefs and all that. So I'm very curious. I do think this dynamic is very much setting up to be a Mahomes-Herbert kind of game, especially with how shorthanded both of these teams potentially are at other positions. I definitely think for me, this Mahomes-Herbert rivalry that we might see for the next 10 or 15 years, it definitely started last year when we got that, first Justin Herbert game, and it continued. But this is the real, pretty much determining factor for who wins the division this year. So definitely a lot on the line for both of those two.
Yeah, you guys are making some great points here. I definitely agree that this is one of the biggest Chargers games of my lifetime. I said this on Sunday. I'm still. Yesterday was a little rough for me after Slater, announced that he was positive. Not that he announced, but that it was announced that he was positive. I kind of swung full tilt and towards like this is going to be awful. Today, I'm a little bit more calm, a little bit more optimistic. But I think to me, you guys are pointing it out that this is about the quarterbacks, and so one of the things that I think is going to be really interesting in that kind of regard is which defense can kind of force some turnovers, a couple sacks. I think everybody's kind of making the Chiefs defense out to be this defensive juggernaut now that they have Melvin Ingram and Chris Jones is back on the inside. And they're definitely playing better. I don't know how much I buy them in terms of like being one of the better defenses in the league. The schedule that they played is certainly questionable. Playing the Packers without Aaron Rodgers, playing the Dallas Cowboys without Amari Cooper, playing the Raiders twice after everything that they've been through. So the Chiefs defense is definitely playing better, but they have 15 takeaways in the last 5 weeks, and that's really kind of inflated their success on both sides of the ball. Whereas, we're seeing the Chargers start to get some more takeaways on their defense too. And so to me, like as simple as it is, like this game is going to come down to who can take care of the ball and who can take the ball away. If Derwin James is playing in this game, that's a huge thing, right? Because Derwin just activates so many more opportunities for pressures, for interceptions, for fumbles, everything like that. And so the last time that these two played, right, the Chargers had 4 takeaways, 2 of which were really kind of iffy. So I'd be shocked if they got 4 takeaways in this one. But can you protect the ball with your Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler? When we've seen some fumble issues there. And B, can you force Mahomes into 1 interception, get a couple sacks? Joey Bosa, it leads the league in sack fumbles right now among edge rushers. So to me, this is about which team can win the turnover battle and really kind of give their offense some short fields, because I think these offenses are really, equal in a lot of regards in statistics in terms of, per drive statistics, in terms of points per game, yards per game. So who can give your offense some short fields and who can really take advantage and make some plays on defense?
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, can they recapture that week 3 magic? Because they did, at least 3 things pretty well versus Kansas City. And that's they protected Herbert, they converted on 4th down, and like you mentioned, they took the ball away. And those things really aren't looking so great right now because, Norton's in, but Abushi's gone since that game. Slater is pretty sure going to be gone. The protection's going to be worse. And then, of course, the Chiefs go out and trade for Ingram. Now, Jones being potentially out does help there. But can they protect Herbert like they did last time? I don't know. The Chargers are not taking the ball away as often as they were before the bye, and the Chiefs are giving it away less frequently. So that's tough. And then they started the season making 9 straight 4th down conversions with their offense, not counting the one on special teams where they threw it to Campbell. But they failed on 7 of their last 12. So all those things that were working for them week 3 against the Chiefs, can they recapture some of that magic in at least 2 of those areas? Protection and takeaways probably be the most important. So we'll see, because those things aren't really looking hot right now.
Yeah, and I mean, this also kind of goes back to the whole Mahomes dynamic, right? Of what's been his season, because he is up in interceptions, but a lot of those interceptions have been caused by, unfortunately for him, his own receivers dropping the ball.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them have been off of Tyreek Hill. I think he now has 5 or 6 interceptions that have been off of his own receivers' hands. So I mean, that's problematic, right? And you even look at that Denver game from a couple of weeks ago. That is how Patrick Surtain got an interception off of Tyreek Hill dropping the ball. So when you have those opportunities, and those opportunities quite literally fall into your hands, then I think you have to take advantage of them. And that's you look at the caliber of teams that the Chiefs have been playing. Broncos don't really have an offense that's set up super well to take care of turnovers. Kind of the same with the Packers without Jordan Love, and Steven saying without the Cowboys without Amari Cooper. This Chargers offense, I think, if they do get turnovers, will make you pay, much like they did against the Chiefs in week 3. So I'll be curious to see if they do get turnovers, or if the Chiefs get turnovers of the Chargers, can either team sort of run away with the game? at that point. So I do think, like Steven's saying, the turnover battle is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of, putting a bow on this, a lot of people in the sports media are, they're talking about, are the Chiefs back? Are they the Super Bowl contenders that we all thought they should be heading into the season? I tend to look at kind of every season differently. What I will say about the Chiefs offense in particular, they obviously have put up 41 and 48 points up against the Raiders. That's 89 points in 2 games. If you take away those 2 games, the Chiefs are averaging about 24 points per game against every other team in the league. That would put them about 16th best in the league on a per game basis, just ahead of the New Orleans Saints. So I don't know if the Chiefs are back. I definitely think that they are legitimate contenders because of the way that their defense is playing. And obviously, they've won 6 games in a row. But this is a different Chiefs team, and I think part of that is kind of the offensive struggles that they've had throughout the season, except against the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders did everything they could to give the Chiefs that game early and often. I mean, like, it was the first play of the game. Jacobs fumbles, they take it for a touchdown. Later, a couple of drives later, Foster Moreau has a catch in his hands, and he kind of drops it, but turns and chucks it to a DB for a turnover. Just don't give the game away. Just can't give the game away. It was like the reason, unfortunately, to move on from Rivers. As much as we love him, he frequently gave the game away against the Chiefs. 3-4 interceptions a game for the last couple of years. It just was really rough. So can't do that. Herbert needs to be a primetime Herbert, where I think he only has 1 interception, and it was a batted pass.
Yeah, I know he same Galadriel, same. I hear you. Yeah, but I know that Justin Herbert, Arjun pointed this out the other day. He's like first in EPA per play in primetime games by like a wide margin. So you want to talk about chances to win this game, and can they, if Justin Herbert continues to be primetime Herbert, then of course they absolutely can. So let's move on to some key matchups and X factors in this one. I think a key matchup for me, I mentioned Joey Bosa earlier. Andrew Wiley has been starting for the Kansas City Chiefs at right tackle for the last 5 games. And I apologize if you can hear my dog barking in the background. That's kind of a rarity. But if you go back since week 8, if you look at the players who have given up the most pressures in the league, Andrew Wiley is in the top 10. He's 8th overall with 22 pressures allowed, and he's only started 5 games. So he is really struggling. Of course, we know that Lucas Niang could potentially come back from injury. In this one, he was their starter initially. You had Mike Remmers. So the Chiefs' offensive line is really, really good this year, but they have yet to figure out the right tackle spot, whether it's Wiley, Niang, Remmers, whoever it is. So for me, the key matchup for the Chargers defense is Joey Bosa versus the right tackle, and potentially you could throw Chet Wilson in there as well. Joey Bosa has been fantastic this season. He's on pace for the most pressures of his career. He's on pace to tie his career record for sacks. So he's really coming into his own lately, and I think that is the key matchup. I mentioned the turnovers. Of course, that affects things. So Joey Bosa has to have a big, big day for the Chargers to win, and I think that's my key matchup of the day.
My key matchup, I'm going to go with, God help us all, the interior defensive line versus Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith, which is a fantastic interior that I'm very jealous of. Obviously Justin Jones did not play the last time these two teams met, so that would help. Back in the old, Eric Banks is a thing days. But the Chiefs, 2 reasons you want to focus on the interior defensive line. One, obviously the Chiefs aren't a great rushing team, but you still have to stop them early to make it easier on the defense and the pass rush. And then B, watching the Chiefs, you can hear my dog too. It's apparently a dog day today. Watching the Chiefs go after the Broncos on Sunday Night Football on their first drive, they went to a lot of quick game. I don't watch the Chiefs all that often, so maybe it's just different because of the game. But considering the coordinator similarities, I'm curious, how things will look for the Chiefs in this game. But they were going a lot of quick game, a lot of RPO, play action, and just working that middle of the field. I assume Denver was taking, everything away deep. But just on their first drive, they had 5 or 6 passes that went in between the hashes that game. So, Mahomes, average of the target in that game was the 2nd lowest of the season. So just try to get your hands up, make Mahomes hesitate, stop the run, make him throw the ball away. Mahomes leads the league in throwaways with, which I'm sure are good decisions, with 40. And the next closest person is Rodgers with 25, and Herbert has 17. So make him throw that ball away, make it a little bit easier on yourselves. please, like Jerry Tillery, for the love of God, have a good game. And he's done it before against the Chiefs, so I think he can do it. But this is a very good interior that he has to face.
Yeah, I think my key matchup for this game is just going to be the Chiefs pass catchers against this Chargers secondary. I think, relatively speaking, you have the Chargers secondary played pretty well last time against the Chiefs, and just sort of containing their weapons. Obviously, takeaways were a big part of that. But
Sure.
Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce didn't really do that great. You had Tyreek Hill, who had 5 receptions for 56 yards last time. Travis Kelce did do pretty good, but they sort of kept him in between the hashes that game. Did have 100 yards, but you kind of take that where you can get it, especially with Tyreek's production being a little bit down in that game. But then you look at the very next game, and you had Tyreek Hill against the Eagles with 186 yards. So, I mean, he's someone who is sort of a little bit streaky, doesn't necessarily have consistent production. But I think he's someone where if you can take Tyreek Hill out of the game, you have a pretty decent chance of winning. And we've seen the Chargers kind of do that with Michael Davis before, or last game against the Chiefs, Tavon Campbell was on him in spurts. Not sure how that's going to go, 11 weeks later with how we've seen Tavon Campbell play, unfortunately. A little less confident than maybe he was earlier in the season. So that's definitely something to watch. And then I think, whether Derwin James can play in this game is going to be huge because of Travis Kelce. And if Derwin James can play, then I'm not too concerned with it. If Michael Davis kind of has to split duties between helping out whoever is going to be covering Travis Kelce and, his responsibilities potentially with Tyreek Hill, then I think that gets a lot murkier, and you can sort of create a scenario where the Chiefs carve up the Chargers a lot easier. So for me, it's about what the Chargers can do with those two particular receivers and whether they can kind of continue Travis Kelce's cold streak, or whether he's going to kind of heat up and eat them alive again, which is not something they want to do. And I do not think they want unleash Tyreek Hill either. So for me, that's really going to determine whether or not the Chargers kind of win this game.
Yeah, we absolutely need to see good Michael Davis and good Chris Harris this week, especially if Derwin James is out. So, if Chris Harris really was hurt and really does come on December, then this is going to be the game where we see if that's legit or if he was just kind of putting smoke up everybody's ass. So, let's get to some X factors. Tyler, who are you going to bring up here for the X factor?
I'm going to bring up Chris Harris Jr. If that's really a thing, if Chris Sember or Harris Sember, whatever is a thing, we had Phil Sember. Now we're ready for Chris Sember, whatever that is. Hopefully it's a good thing. We hear that he heats up in December and that he was injured. So both things, he's no longer injured, apparently, because he had a good game. And it's December. So in theory, this should be great. This should be a really good game for him. This is kind of basically why they brought him in. And I actually thought when they first played the Chiefs last year, that second week, Chris Harris Jr. did a pretty good job against the Chiefs, except for the one, phenom play that was just almost uncoverable. So if he continues to play well, which he has the last couple of weeks, they have a shot. I mean, somebody needs to step up at this point. I don't really know if it's Campbell, the guy who forced 2 fumbles last time. Alohi Gilman, who had that interception, he's out, I believe. And he's the guy who had the interception last time to kind of seal the game. Mark Webb is out. So somebody has to step up. There's a couple of guys, sure, that can do it. Asante Samuel coming back is a big deal. But yeah, Chris Harris Jr., he's the X factor. If he plays well, they could win and hold the Chiefs. If he doesn't, then it'll be like a lot of the weeks we've seen this year where they don't look good in coverage.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the X factor is kind of going to be the other injuries that we have on the roster outside of Rashawn Slater's COVID-19 situation. So we do know Keenan Allen is going to be coming back, but we really don't know on the statuses of some other players. Asante Samuel could go, still currently in the concussion protocol. We'll see what happens with that. Derwin James, as I mentioned when talking about Travis Kelce, that, I think you really need to have both of those two players to have a good chance to beat the Chiefs, much like they had both Asante and Derwin in their Week 3 win. And Austin Eckler, What's his status? I'm not sure, but I think that you kind of need probably at least a 75% Eckler to kind of get you through this game and give that Chiefs defense some more things to think about, some more problems, although it already is helpful that Keenan Allen is coming back. And while Rashawn Slater can technically still play, it's more than likely that he'll be out. So for me, aside from the Rashawn Slater thing, it's all about those three Chargers, talking about Asante Samuel, Derwin James, and Austin Eckler, and whether they're able to give it a go or not. And then in addition to that, what kind of percent are they feeling right now? Because I think if you have at least two out of three of those guys over, kind of 90% recovered from their injuries, then you're good. If it becomes apparent that Derwin is still a little hobbly coming back from the hamstring, if it becomes a little, concerning that Austin Eckler is still a little light on that ankle, then I think that could become a real problem for the Chargers, both offensively and defensively, with how many variables are kind of in the injury report this week outside of the COVID situation.
Yeah, we got a Chiefs fan in here, so that's fun. Appreciate you supporting the show. For what it's worth, Kaiser White did say today in his press conference that he thinks that Derwin James will be back. Again, nothing official there, but something to keep an eye on for sure. My X factor is going to be someone that's been X factor for time before. Unfortunately, the man was inactive the next day after, and that's Trey McKitty. Trey McKitty, the Chargers rookie tight end, played a season high 31 snaps this past week, and a lot of that is due to kind of the game script being a little bit more run heavy. But if there were ever an important game for a blocking tight end to have, it would be the game that you don't have Rashawn Slater, because you have Trey Pipkins. So Trey and Rashawn have really kind of joined up on some good combo blocks recently. Trey McKitty's, really come into his own as a run blocker. Of course, the 88 helps, but now when I watch him, I do really see like a legitimate, Virgil Green kind of player. And I think this is a really important game because I expect this team to kind of lean into, quick passing game, as well as kind of max protect looks and the run and the rushing attack. There are a lot of different ways you can help out a struggling offensive tackle situation. And a lot of that is running the football, quick passing game, max protect. And so that means that Trey McKitty is going to be on the field quite a lot in this one. We have seen him struggle a little bit, particularly against the Vikings. He had a rough day. But, he's been coming into his own recently. And I think we need to see Trey McKitty perform well again as he looks to help out Trey Pipkins and Storm Norton on the edges.
Yeah, that's a good call. Daniel Popper called him their best inline blocking tight end. I think he's at least their most natural at doing that. I don't know if he's the best yet, but you obviously watch the blocking. I'll keep talking, but do you agree? Do you think he's the best inline blocking tight end they have?
I think it's Parham right now.
Okay.
I think that I would also agree that McKitty is the most natural. Because they prefer to have Anderson as kind of the H-back fullback type, or they'll leak him and pull him across the formations. But that at the point of attack, it's slowly becoming McKitty. But Parham, he's just so big and strong out there that I'm still leaning there. But McKitty is definitely coming into his own, and then they'll need both of those tight ends to have good days blocking. And you could certainly make an argument for Parham as a receiver too. I've just done that like 7 times on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do both from blocking and as a receiver, because we've sort of been seeing this dynamic where Jared Cook's snaps have been going kind of slightly down recently.
Yeah.
I think more towards the beginning of the season, he was definitely a guy that was playing 50 plus 60% of snaps most of the time. Now, in this most recent game, he had 44% of the snaps on offense. Donald Parham with 41, Steven Anderson 24, and of course Trey McKitty with 46, primarily with that blocking role. But I think you're kind of starting to see the transition of Jared Cook sort of being phased out of tight end one. I'm not going to go quite that far yet to say he's not anymore, but it does seem to be much more of a rotation than a group that has, one TE1, let's say.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment right now. And Jared Cook has not been great. So rightfully so, getting a significantly lower workload. All right, let's get to some bold predictions here. Of course, this is when we kind of go out on a limb. Although looking back at my prediction last week of winning by more than 2 touchdowns, I don't really know how bold that really was. But for this week, I mentioned the tight end earlier. I mentioned Donald Parham. I mentioned how I think this is kind of going to be a quick game, maybe reminiscent of the Philadelphia Eagles game plan. So I think we see Donald Parham over 60 yards receiving and a touchdown. That, of course, would be his career high in terms of yards. I do think it's going to be a big tight end week in general. And I think Donald Parham has a big big game in this one.
All right, I'm not going to make it 3 weeks in a row or make a joke about the backup running backs. I will say, bold prediction. Mike Williams, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a good prediction. Mike Williams always goes off against the Chiefs. Last time he had, like 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, like, there's always that possibility. Yeah, I mean, I've sort of hit on my predictions the last 2 weeks. I had the Jalen Guyton touchdown. I did say Jared Cook 50 yards and a touchdown. He got 8 yards and a touchdown. So he at least got
really
the touchdown.
Close.
He got the touchdown part of it. So 50-50 for me. I'll take a little bit of that. But yeah, no, I think if you're kind of looking on offense, I don't know if there is a ton of like boldness I could say, but I'll say for now, bold prediction, Tyreek Hill held 50 yards or under. That is going to be my bold one. They held him to, I think, 54, like I read last time. I think that Travis Kelce might be more the target because of just the Chiefs trying to kind of naturally get him out of that slump. And I think the fact that Michael Davis and Tavon Campbell have shown the ability to keep up with Hill. So, Lord, do not have Chris Harris on Tyreek Hill at any point in this game, or that prediction might go to waste pretty quickly. But I will say Tyreek Hill 50 yards or under.
I like it. I like that.
All right, wait. I want to do a couple of different ones here. Okay. 1, who is the running back 3? And 2, over under Trey Pipkins 6 pressures allowed.
Kelly is the RB3.
Yeah, I was gonna say just over 6 pressures, and yeah, Josh Kelly is the RB3.
Yeah. I'm saying over 2. I know everybody's kind of like seems to be a little bit to talking more about Melvin Ingram ahead of this matchup. And I get that the revenge factor is definitely something that I'm a little worried about. But Frank Clark is top 10 in pressures since they got Melvin Ingram too. So Frank Clark is really kind of doing the same thing as Chris Harris in the sense that he was injured and now he's playing hot or whatever. So I'm a little bit worried about that matchup. I know some people are saying that, like, Trey Pipkins played really well last time they played the Chiefs and all that stuff. And it's Trey Pipkins, so I'm going over.
I mean, I think there's just a natural inclination of people wanting to talk themselves into Trey Pipkins and the fact it could work and rah Thursday night. But I see some people posting like, actually Justin Herbert had his best rookie season without Rashawn Slater. So, maybe the Chargers just don't need a tackle. It's like, well, that's a little bit of a, other than the play mislink and how is everything, going. And they were 200 pressures allowed on the offensive line last year. Let's try not to get Herbert killed.
Yeah, that'd be great. Keeping him upright would be interesting. Although I'm curious how they'll approach this game from a passing standpoint, because against the Eagles, they went like quick passing game. That made a lot of sense. I think they could do that here, but against the Broncos, they ran a lot more play action. And they tried to put it deeper a lot more than I would have guessed. A, against that defense, and B, with Senor Calamete at left guard. And they've obviously committed to that play action and to pushing it a little bit more deep the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what their game plan ends up being, and that really will play a factor in this over-under.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think from a management standpoint, it's a little easier to, deal with a guard injury than it is, going from Rashawn Slater to Trey Pipkins. Of course, you could do some more max protect situations. And I do expect them to do that. That's become a good staple of their offense, and rightfully so with Justin Herbert and his arm. But I think, the easiest way is just kind of embrace the rushing attack and embrace quick passing game and things like that. Juan Gonzalez wants to know what's the contingency plan if Pipkins gets pulled. At that point, I would assume Brendan Hymus. I don't know. That's kind of the emergency plan. Maybe Senor Clemente comes in and you kick Matt Filer out to left tackle. But either way, it's not good.
Yeah, it seemed like they knew that Filer was not their primary option, but it was an option. So I think it's going to be Filer left tackle, Hymus at left guard. They've clearly said that Hymus is not even kind of playing tackle for them. He's only going to be a guard for them. Yeah. Could be left guard, right guard, but he's only going to be a guard for them. So I do think if Pipkins goes down, it's Filer to left tackle, Hymus to left guard, which I can live with that.
Yeah, there is that. I forget his name, but he's the tackle from Stanford. Foster, I think is his first name. He is on the practice squad. Yeah, so I mean, you could activate him, I guess, and I kind of see. I don't really know. Maybe we activate Ryan Hunter instead, but they'll obviously have to do something because Rashawn Slater won't be playing, or likely won't be playing, I should say. All right, it is that time of the show where we get to our league-wide picks. Before we do that, Alex has an ad about ExpressVPN, and then Alex can update us on the standings as well.
Yeah, the GAC prediction standings are brought to you by expressvpn.com/guilty, where you can go get your 3-month free trial of a VPN to go watch all of the International Game Pass and all of the Netflix and the Hulu that you want on International Game Pass. You could actually just rewatch that whole Chargers drubbing of the Giants in all of its glory before we probably get dropped by the Chiefs because of Trey Pipkins. But you can look at the bright side and go look at all those highlights because, man, was that Herbert throw fun. Anyway, the standings are brought to you by expressvpn.com/guilty, where you can go get that 3-month free trial. But Steven is in first place because he swapped records with Tyler. He went 2-1 last week, so that's good. I think everyone actually went 2-1 or 3-0. Me and Tyler both went 3-0. Steven went 2-1, so good week for everybody involved. Steven is at 29-13. I am at 28-14. Tyler is now at 21-21. So he's still a little bit behind. But
I got Steven's record at 500. No way.
I did it. You got Steven's record at 500 because of a 3-0 week. So, nice. Yeah, you got him back. You got him back over water. So that's good. But again, you can go to expressvpn.com/guilty. But I am going first this week, and I have prepared for this segment. I think.
There we go.
So let's see. I will be taking the gimme this week, the Cardinals over the Lions. I mean, they just lost to the Rams, and also it's the Lions. I don't think they're going to beat the 10-3 Cardinals, but if they do, I will delete this video so it doesn't exist on YouTube. Anyway, I will also take the Bills over the Panthers. The Bills are just due for a win. They've had a string of kind of heartbreaking losses, and I just can't see the Panthers team in this current state with no quarterback beating the Buffalo Bills. And I said that I prepared. I prepared those two picks, but I have not prepared my upset pick. So does someone want to tell me the line on Eagles football team?
The Eagles are favored by 5.
Ooh, that's
so I imagine maybe Vegas thinks that Taylor Heineke will not be playing.
Probably. Eagles are coming off of a bye as well, though, so I may want to stay away from that one. Not a lot of great material.
This is the one you prepared for?
No, well, I prepared the first two picks, and then I'm like, shit, the upset pick. I have to get the upset pick going. Okay, I'm going to assume the Patriots are favored over the Colts.
The Colts are favored.
Come on.
Colts by 1.5.
Colts by 1.5. Oh, okay. So, yeah, that makes life easy. I'll take the Patriots over the Colts.
There you go.
So I will take the Patriots in an upset. I will take the Cardinals over the Lions, and I will take the Bills over the Panthers.
There you go. Good job. All right, I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers over the Atlanta Falcons. 49ers playing some really good ball this week lately since George Kittle has returned from injury. That man has been a monster. So next, I will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the New Orleans Saints. You didn't take that one, did you? Right? You said Cardinals was your first one.
Yes.
All right, so I'm taking the Buccaneers over the Saints. And then upset pick. Let's go. Oh, definitely not taking the Texans. My gosh.
You don't want in on the 2-11 Urban Bowl?
No, absolutely not. Not taking the New York teams. I'll take the Chicago Bears over the Minnesota Vikings as my upset pick. I picked the fighting Justin Fields a few weeks ago. It didn't work out. That's really kind of the only upset pick that I feel comfortable with at this point because you never know which Minnesota team is going to show up. So I'm going to go Bears over Vikings as my upset pick.
Can you repeat your selections for me again, please?
Yeah, so I took the Niners over the Falcons, the Buccaneers over the Saints, and then the Bears over the Vikings.
Okay. So nobody took Packers over Ravens, right?
No.
So I'll take that one, especially because the Ravens might be without a quarterback. And then no one took Rams over Seahawks yet?
No.
So I will take that one, although that's looking a little bit more iffy these days.
Yeah.
And then for the upset, I'm very tempted to go Raiders over Browns because
oh my gosh,
the Browns are out of a roster at some point, though. Like they're running out of players at some point. I think the Raiders could potentially pull it off. I'll go with the Bengals over the Broncos.
Yeah, I thought about doing that one as well. But the Bengals are so up and down, and they're in Denver. But I think that's probably if I were going third, I feel like that's probably the pick that I would make as well. Cool.
Well, yeah, hopefully I can stay over 500. So Steven's in the lead. What's his record?
29-13. I'm 28-14. So I'm a game back. And yeah, Tyler's back at 500. So he only needs probably a few more weeks to go catch Steven.
Okay. If we count postseason, maybe I'll catch up.
There we go. So for those who are new to the show, we have a bet placed on these picks where whoever wins gets a jersey from the other two. So gonna be a fun one. All right. Alex picks all the gimmies. He does. Well, I feel like each of us got 2 gimmies this week.
This week, yeah, definitely. Last week was a lot tougher.
Look, I only go first every 3 weeks. I have to take advantage of taking all the gimmies. Give me Cardinals over Lions, and if I curse the Cardinals, then I'll just jump off the bridge. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right, let's get to our actual Chargers predictions here. Who wants to go first?
Not me.
A lot depends on who shows up, and usually we wait till Thursday. Today is Tuesday, so they did technically have 2 practices logged. It's more of an estimation. So I think that the Chargers do get this done. I'm assuming Allen returns. I'm assuming James returns, and that Eckler is 80%, maybe not full, but can log enough snaps. I'm assuming that Slater is not there, and I'm assuming that Jones is also not there for the Chiefs. And I do think that the Chargers will sweep the Chiefs at this point. I do believe in primetime Herbert, especially if Keenan Allen is back. And I do believe this could signal the beginning of something new. So not that the win in week 3 didn't already do that, but I think they can really cement what this franchise is going to be moving forward with the win. So I think on a short week, being able to stay at home and the offense kind of clicking right now, I think they do it. I'm going to have the Chargers winning 30-27.
Wow. I did not see that one coming, but to be clear, Keenan Allen was activated off the COVID list. He will be back from the COVID list, and I assume that he plays. So how much he plays, we'll have to see. I'm kind of on the side with Tyler here because, like I said yesterday, I went like full tilt the other way, but I kept on looking at that primetime Herbert graphic that Arjun posted. And really, that's my only reason. I think Justin Herbert is going to outduel Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes in this one. That really is what it comes down to me. I trust Herbert more to take care of the football than I do Patrick Mahomes. And I definitely understand that a lot of his interceptions have come from, like it hits the receiver first, but some of that is also Patrick Mahomes. Like the interception that
Sure.
Asante Samuel Jr. had in week 3, that was Patrick's fault. Like, yeah, it hit the receiver in the hands, but that no look bullshit to a player who's not used to that, like that bit him in the ass. So I trust Herbert to not turn the ball over more than I do trust Mahomes to not do that. I think this is going to be a little lower scoring. I'm definitely not taking the over in this one, but I think the Chargers can manage to win and do just enough on offense, despite Rashawn Slater likely being out. So right now, I'm feeling Chargers 24, Chiefs 23. Chargers end it on a last minute field goal or touchdown.
Fuck you guys for leaving me on pessimism island. I thought we
You had
were
the
all on
option.
the same. I thought we were all on the same page yesterday, and then you come on the show and do the actually. Fuck you guys. Anyway,
I changed my mind, man. It happens.
I'm not allowed to do that. Anyway, I think that I think the Chiefs win this game. Unfortunately, I just don't see Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes getting swept. I think if Slater was playing in this game, my pick would probably be different. But I do have the Chiefs 30-24. I think the Chargers will keep it relatively close. I think the Chiefs offense is kind of clicking right now. And the Chargers now having Eckler hurt and, the Slater thing that's kind of still going to rear its head. Sure. That is a problem. I still think the Chargers can get this done, and I would not be shocked if they did. Because look, like I said at the beginning of the show, they have Justin Herbert, who is playing like a top 5 quarterback and can win the games Chargers they're not supposed to win. But at the same time, I just think the Chiefs are too good to lose 2 games to the Chargers in a season. That hasn't been done with this Reid Mahomes regime. I'd love to see the Chargers get it done, but the Slater thing, as well as the health concerns with other players that will play in this one, makes me a little bit iffy about picking the Chargers, even if the Chiefs are missing Chris Jones. I also just think Mahomes is the kind of quarterback that's just going to win this game a little bit by himself in a sense, because I don't see him losing to Herbert twice yet. But hopefully I'm wrong, but I will take the Chiefs 30-24.
Well, what I will say is if Chris Jones plays and Rashawn Slater doesn't, then I will swing the other way back again. I think Jones going on the COVID list definitely is a big feather in the cap for the Chargers if he's really not able to play, because that really is a huge loss there.
The good news is they've already taken care of business at Arrowhead. So even if they lose, like it's a solid start. Like beating them in Arrowhead, and if this game is close, feels good. Yes, Dad. My dad is commenting. Beat the Chiefs. They will.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, they also have the game in hand with the Bengals, right? I mean, they're a full game up on the AFC wildcard right now. So, like, while this is a must-win game for the division, if they want a chance at that, it's not necessarily the end of their playoff run if they do lose. So I do think having those AFC wins is big. And of course, they play the Texans next week, which is kind of a free win in and of itself. I do think it's would be a great win to have, of course, and signal that change that Tyler was talking about. But Chargers can also still make the playoffs, even if they don't.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're into the ESPN FPI and the analytics of that kind of thing, Seth Waller did point out, their projections have the most common projection as the Chargers is the 5 seed. So that kind of would entail them potentially losing this game and then winning their last 3 games. And so I think that's totally a possibility. I think their playoff chances on Football Outsiders, I think, are above 75 right now. So the Chargers can still be a very successful team and have a successful season if they lose this game. But if they win, man, that's potentially a 2 seed, maybe a 1, depending how things go. Just a huge game overall. But I totally understand where Alex is coming from. And again, yesterday when the news came that Rashawn Slater was on the COVID list, I was full tilt, man. I was full. They're gonna get smashed. There's zero chance. But just I think you come back to reality a little bit with the news that Chris Jones isn't playing and just kind of how good Justin Herbert has been recently.
Yeah, listen, one of us or two or one of us is going to be wrong. And yeah, I might wake up on Thursday and change it depending on who is actually playing. If James is out, and if actually they say like he's going to be on a snap count, then it's like, then no, I can't pick the Chargers. But assuming everyone's good to go, that I think is going to be good to go. I'm going to stand by that. I think they can do it. The magic number has really always been 24 for the Chargers. As long as they score more than 24 or hold the Chiefs to less than 24, they can win. So 25, 24.2. Figure out that. I don't know. Hit your extra points, Hopkins.
And for the sake of the Chargers in the show, I hope I'm wrong. And statistically, I've been the most wrong in these game picks. So, I think that's fair. So hopefully I've given them a little bit of a reverse jinx.
Yeah, it brings a little balance to the show. I think it, creates more actual analysis since all of us are not, super giddy about the Chargers and, blowing out the Chiefs kind of thing. So I always appreciate that about Alex. So, like I said last time, Tyler and I will not be doing a live show right away. Alex is going to do some of his final thoughts right after the game. And then Tyler and I will do a live recap on Friday. I, of course, have a wedding. Tyler's going to see Spider-Man. If any of you spoil Spider-Man for me, I will be so upset. So don't share spoilers. Don't be that guy. Yes, this is a Chargers podcast, but now we're talking about Spider-Man. So some of us don't get to see it on Thursday or Friday. So don't share spoilers. And anyways, that's my
I just hit the chat from my screen. Thank you for setting us up for that one. So I think the chat. If someone says something, I'm not going to see it. So
yeah,
there we go. Really excited about this Chargers game. Excited to see Spider-Man once I am able to, for sure. Alex, Tyler, final thoughts before we head out for the rest of the night.
Not really. Just see you not at all on Thursday. Hope for a good day and see you guys sort of on Friday.
Yeah, I probably won't be seeing you guys on Friday because I have to leave a foreign country and then come back to the United States. So I hopefully will be seeing you guys on Thursday, provided my body provides me the resources to stay up. So I will take as many substances as I need to try to stay up for that Chargers Chiefs game and run on the adrenaline of hopefully a Chargers win. That's all for me, and I will be back stateside soon.
Yeah, there we go. That's a big one for Alex. I know it's been a fun semester down there in your first semester of med school, but I would imagine that coming back to the States will be a good time for you. Shout out to Tyler's dad again with another super chat. Says that it's a changing of the guard. Chargers win the division. So I think they have a good chance of doing that. Can't wait to watch this matchup. Really the most excited I've been for a Chargers game since 2018. So going to be a fun one to see. Primetime Herbert against primetime Mahomes. Staley versus Reed. Lots of storylines in this one. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Thank you guys for tuning in to the show, and we'll see you next time.